We are a minority government. We have been a day away from an election for the past 3 years.
Does the situation surrounding COVID-19 make it more or less likely British Columbians will head to the ballot box in the not-too-distant future? Recent public opinion polls during the pandemic have worked in favor of Premier John Horgan and the NDP. A study done by Insights West earlier this month found John Horgan's approval rating is at an all-time high. And with polls currently working in his favor, the Premier was asked Thursday whether he's considering a fall election.
We have a very precarious balance here in BC, and I've said that between now and next fall, we need to have an election. It's mandated by next October. When that happens is not necessarily clear to me today.
From a purely strategic point of view, sure, right, is that he's experiencing a COVID bump like many other premiers. Horgan was popular before that, right, and so this only makes it perhaps more likely that he could squeeze out a majority.
Sanjay Jaram studies political science at SFU. He says while calling an election during times of strong public support is appealing for a government, the pandemic complicates the issue.
The other side of the coin is that doing so might be problematic because you have a situation in the context of a pandemic where having an election would perhaps take focus away from the efforts of the government. It may cause people to be more active in public spaces, all these kinds of things that election could trigger. So there is that possibility that it could be seen as irresponsible on the part of the government.
So this is a question that we've been in touch with the Chief Electoral Office on.
BC's Provincial Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry says there are a number of foreseeable elections at all levels of government she's been preparing for.
Yes, we are working with them so that we are prepared as a province for whatever comes up, whether it be the fall, next spring, next year, and that elections can happen safely.
Leaders of the Green and Liberal parties weren't happy with the Premier's comments. Adam Olsen posted a thread on Twitter saying British Columbians would rightfully be outraged to have an unnecessary election forced on them in the midst of a pandemic. Opposition leader Andrew Wilkinson said he was disappointed to hear John Horgan's comments about opportunities for a fall election. Sanjay Jaram says usually a minority government falls, triggering an election when they can't work with other parties. But in this case, he says the NDP minority has been largely stable.
Just simply asking the Lieutenant Governor to dissolve Parliament simply on the premise that, things are working, but yet we want to have an election because we want to squeeze out a majority. That, I think, might be seen negatively by many people in the public.
BC needs to hold a provincial election no later than October 2021. In Burnaby, David Zura, City News.